your head on my shoulder, baby.
Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm just gonna jump right into it. I am gonna be answering a lot of questions that I got on my Instagram page about being in a sorority. So I know a lot of people are gonna also have questions about what it's like to go through sorority recruitment. And if this video can get to 50 likes, I'm gonna make a separate video just talking all about recruitment because there's so much to say about recruitment and I'd rather make it like a separate thing. Also, I just wanted to say thank you to last week's comment winner, which is right here. Thank you so much for commenting on my video. And if you want to be featured in next video, make sure to comment down below if you have any follow-up questions about what it's like to be in a sorority or anything in general. All right, so I know the first question that everybody wants to know when they click on these Q&A videos is what sorority are you in? I'll just tell you right now, the sorority I'm in is Gamma Phi Beta. It's the Eta Theta chapter at UConn, and a lot of the things that I'm gonna say obviously pertain to the chapter that I'm in, but they can apply to a lot of different chapters at a lot of different schools. I just wanted to get that out of the way because I know everybody's gonna be like, oh my God, what sorority are you in? There we go. All right, now that that's out of the way. So one of the first questions I got was what made you decide to choose your chapter? Gamma Phi was the only chapter when I was going through recruitment that one, I felt like I could truly see myself in. Whenever I talked to any of the girls at Gamma Phi, I feel like the conversations that I was having really resonated with me in the way that they were not just those like, oh my God, what building do you live in? Like, no way, my friend lived in that building too. Like, it wasn't just about superficial things. And we got into talking a lot about our personal values, which is one of the most important parts of recruiting and being recruited into a sorority. Gamma Phi was the only chapter that I really felt like I was able to be myself in the way that I am. I know that my chapter is where I'm meant to be, and I feel so valued and important in my chapter, and it's just such a strong community of support and overwhelmingly so. It's so hard to put into words like how much the organization means to me when I can't like show you everything. But yeah, I think that kind of sums it up. The second question is, how does Big Little work? I don't really know if it's the same for every single chapter, but our Big Little process is very similar to recruitment. It's a mutual selection process where we go on girl dates that are called moonies because our symbol is the crescent moon. I know, it's all very corny, but it's whatever. We set up like a PowerPoint where girls can make their own slides and put what they're interested in. Like, people will say, this is my major. Like, you get to see all of the things that maybe you might have similar hobbies or play the same sport. And ultimately I found my big Keelan, who I've talked about her before. I love her so much, and she has been such a strong role model in my life and an inspiration to me ever since I joined the chapter. And pretty much, I would say like 99% of the time, everybody ends up with someone who they really like and have talked to before, and sometimes it doesn't always work out between people, but those are very rare cases. And I mean, it worked out for me. I love my big and my little, so I don't have any complaints. The third question I had was, what is our philanthropy? What do we do for it? So for Gamma Phi, our philanthropy is building strong girls, but we partner with an organization called Girls on the Run. It's an organization that strives to empower young girls. The activity that they do is they train them to run 5Ks or different races, but it's a little bit less about the running and more about teaching the girls life skills that they can use in the future to build up leadership skills, public speaking, self-love, and a lot of different skills that not a lot of girls learn when they're growing up, which is really sad because in a lot of different fields, whether it be science or just STEM in general or sports, they still are male-dominant fields for the most part. And it's important that girls know that they can have a place in athletic, like professional sports, or in a science lab, or in the White House. And that philanthropy really resonated with me because at my foundation, standing up for what I believe in is so important to me. And I think that Girls on the Run really embodies that as a whole. So this kind of leads into the next question, which is a question that is inevitable, and I actually do get it more often than I would like to, and that is, do sororities haze? So the answer is, at UConn, the sororities do not haze. And I know that you're probably thinking like, oh, she has to tell you that. And the sad truth is that a lot of sororities at other schools do haze still. Hazing is still a really big and upsetting problem in the Greek community, like country worldwide. Like, I know that hazing is still a really big issue, and it's very upsetting to me because I have always been super anti-hazing. If a sorority was going to be having their philanthropy or having their values be about female empowerment and friendship and loyalty, and then you're going to go and say awful things to your sisters and physically or mentally abuse them, that makes zero sense to me. Like, that just, I can't even wrap my head around why that would be a thing to begin with, like how hazing even started. It really does stress me out because people will sit here and be like, Alyssa, you're lying, like you probably got hazed. And I'm gonna tell you a million times that I didn't, but it upsets me that it still has to be a question that is asked because it is still a very predominant thing at many, many schools, which is awful. But it's something that a lot of schools hopefully are working on, so hopefully within the next couple years, hazing will be a thing of the past and people will realize how contradicting it is. The fifth question is Greek life expensive? So yes, I'm not gonna tell you that it's cheap because it really does vary from school to school. I know some schools can be upwards of like $5,000 a semester, which is wild. Dues can still range to about like $500 a semester. It really does depend on the school you're at. Paying dues is a part of being in any organization, whether you're gonna be on a club sports team or in, I don't know, just a regular club. You have to pay dues to any club that you're in. I don't think that it's really a reasonable like accusation to be like, oh, I don't have to pay for my friends. I don't know what you're trying to prove there, because I do think that being in Greek life is worth it. If you're considering going through recruitment but not sure about dues and everything, definitely go through recruitment and give it a try, because once you're actually in the organization and you see how life-changing it can be to be a part of it, you can work with your financial vice president or whoever is in charge of finances to manage a payment plan that will work for you. The next question is wondering what it's like to have a position in your chapter and if I have a position in my chapter. So the answer is yes, I do have a position. I am the safety and wellness chairwoman of my chapter, which means that I post like once a week about physical health, mental health, emotional health, all different types of ways that girls can make sure that they're staying healthy and safe, and girls can reach out to me if they're having issues. I'm not like being their therapist, but I can direct them to the resources that they need to get the help that they need, if that makes sense. That's my position. It's very manageable. Other positions like being president or being on exec, they do so much work, and I don't even think all the sisters in the chapter realize how much work exec puts into everything that they do. Being in a position in your chapter is not just about like a resume builder, it's about building the future of your chapter and kind of making it to be what the sisters want the chapter to grow into. The next question is, what is Greek life like at UConn? So, and this is a very valid question because Greek life is so different at like every school. UConn is a very big school, and I'd say that we have a fairly big Greek life community, but it's definitely not as big as you would expect it to be, first of all. And it's also not overwhelming. Like, there are some schools where students have said that if you're not in Greek life at that school, you have no social life. And at UConn, that is not true at all. Like, I went through an entire year of not being in Greek life at UConn, and I was completely fine. Greek life at UConn is a pretty close-knit community, I would say, even though it's smaller than you would expect. A lot of people and different chapters are very close with each other. All of the chapters go to all of each other's philanthropy events. A lot of the time it feels like everyone really is working together. And there are some times where I've seen chapters not necessarily working with each other. Sometimes it feels like they're working against each other, but our current Pan-Hellenic president is doing so much to try to change the situations in which that happens. And so far, I can see that this year's Pan-Hellenic board is doing a really good job of uniting the chapters at UConn and really making it feel like more a community instead of individual chapters with their own individual members. So that's really good, and I like that that change is happening a lot. So I'm looking forward to seeing more of that, but I think that pretty much sums up what Greek life at UConn is like. And the last question I have is, what was it like living in the sorority house? So obviously, if you already saw my sorority house tour video, I'll link it right here. You can see what the house looked like and what my room looked like. I did a little tour of the whole thing. So when I first moved into the house, I was coming back from being abroad the semester before. I was literally thinking that people were all gonna forget who I was, especially because I had only been in the chapter for one semester before going abroad. I really did feel like I was being welcomed back with open arms, and it was so nice to just catch up with people and start building friendships that I hadn't built my first semester in the chapter. And then by the time that I would say like October came around, I was kind of not really liking living in the house. I don't want to say I didn't feel like I belonged, because I did, but I just wasn't really feeling like, oh my god, this house is the best thing ever. And I actually planned on moving out for the spring and moving into an apartment with a couple girls. And then the guys who were supposed to be subletting the apartment for us really screwed us over. Like, at the time, it seemed like so awful, and I was so upset because these guys basically scammed us. We got scammed. And then once it hit me that I was staying, I started to be more open to the idea of enjoying living in the house. My main thing is that everything happens for a reason, and those guys scamming us out of living in that apartment was probably the best thing that could have happened to me, because I made so many more friends in the house. I found a group of friends who I could really stick to and rely on, who were living in the house, and I loved it. Just these past couple months where I was living in the house and enjoying it changed my perspective on being at UConn so much. And there were a lot of things that I didn't like living in the house. Like, people wouldn't clean, and a lot of people weren't responsible about cleaning up after themselves, which really frustrated me a lot of the time. But now that I'm not living in the house anymore, I would give anything to be back in that kitchen cleaning up other people's dishes just so that I could be back in that house right now. It's gonna be really sad going back to campus next year and not being in the house, but overall, these past couple months were when I really found my place in my chapter and started to understand the magnitude at which being in Gamma Phi has affected my life. And for that reason, I'm going to end this video by saying that if you're considering going through recruitment, please do it. Go through recruitment full faith and just see what happens. Trying it out is so worth it. Please leave any more questions down below that I didn't answer or that you want to see in another video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Like I said, if we get to 50 likes, I will make a video about my sorority recruitment experience, which is not something that I am like dying to talk about. But yeah, with that, I will talk to you again on Wednesday. Love you. Bye.